This is kind of turning into a Goff thing and a contract thing after the news about Dak Prescott looking like he's going to land a $55 or $60 million a year contract with the Cowboys, a contract extension. Begs the question, how high are the Lions going to have to go if they want to re-sign Jared Goff? And what a great situation Goff has here because of the offensive line. And, if you sign Goff to a monster deal, are you able to hang on to all the offensive linemen? I don't know. And at some point, you're probably going to start thinking about replacing a lineman or two as well as they get older and longer into their careers. The first guy you got to think about is Jonah Jackson, who I believe is a free agent after this year. And you're going to want to bring him back. But he's also not going to break the bank. I saw a list of like the top 100 free agents in the NFL getting ready for this offseason, and Jonah Jackson was outside the top 50. I think he's great. But, if somebody deems him to be well outside the top 50, what kind of money are you getting at that point, to be a top left guard in this league? You're going to get paid, but you're not going to get paid like $25 million a year. So we'll see how it shakes out. But right now, he's got a way to certainly add to his resume. Jared Goff does, with 2 games left in the regular season. But of course, the big thing is the postseason. Everybody is concerned about the postseason. And no one's going to say extend them if they lose a postseason game. If you don't win your playoff game at home, if that's all the Lions have is one playoff game and they lose it, then I don't think you're going to curry too much favor with fans and say that, oh yeah, let's extend them. Unless it's one of these games like, they score 38 points and they lose 41-38. Then it's not on him. But we'll wait and see that. I have pretty good feelings about the Lions in the playoffs this year. I think they win a playoff game. And they may host a second playoff game. We'll see how it goes. But, of course, they have to win on Saturday night for that to even come close to happening. James is next up here, 97 on the ticket. Hey, James.
Hey, I agree with what you said about Goff being good for how this team is built. But on the other hand, it leaves us with less room for error than all the other top teams in the league. In other words, if Ragnar goes down, we're done. Okay, so the way it's built, if everything is perfect and everybody stays healthy, yeah. But if we lose a lineman, and God forbid one of the top ones like Ragnar or Sewell, he doesn't have the ability to do it without it.
Well, it's similar with, San Francisco lost, was it Trent Williams, their left tackle, and they lost 3 games in a row. So, did you think about that with Brock Purdy, or would you have automatically thought, oh no, Purdy is, he's great. Purdy's been really great in that system, but it's a situation that's very similar. And I think there are a lot of similar situations throughout the league. If you lose your best offensive lineman, it's going to hurt.
Right. I would rather build depth in the trenches, like you were saying, build through the trenches, but there's no depth that they actually have. If they can figure out a way to do that. But Goff needs to be, or the quarterback that we do have in the future, I believe, is going to have some mobility or be able to make some plays on his own to be worthy of a $55 to $60 million contract.
Well, and mobility is thanks for the call, James. It is something, right? I think people confuse that with the running ability as opposed to just mobility. I don't think you have to have the running ability. I just think you have to be mobile, be able to maneuver through the pocket, buy yourself some extra time when the pass rush comes in and the pocket collapses. Can you escape that pocket and find some time to make a play without having to just take off and run like Kyler Murray or someone of that ilk? Can you play the quarterback position first and foremost? And Goff can. He's just not terribly mobile. He might be the most immobile quarterback in the National Football League. That now includes Joe Flacco again. But look, with that offensive line the Lions have, that's the priority. Keeping that line together is the priority. And I think because of what they did last year in the draft, or this past draft, still this year, because of what they did in the 2023 draft and the 2022 draft, all the players they've acquired that have now become starting players, and the fantastic draft classes they've had, I think that they can go into the 2024 draft and start thinking about replenishing the offensive line. You're going to want to add through free agency as well. But, do you add through free agency? Do you find another corner in free agency or some secondary help there or pass rush help there that allows you to take a first-round pick on an offensive lineman? I think that's probably what's a strong possibility of what they do in the first couple rounds is take an offensive lineman because they know they're going to have to start to replenish that. But these were high picks, These were all 3 of those guys' first-round picks on that offensive line. And Sewell's not going anywhere. But Ragnow, somebody has to deal with an injury for the rest of his career probably. And Taylor Decker not getting any younger, and he's been dealing with a bunch of injuries. Jonah Jackson's up for free agency, so sign him. All right, but you got to keep backups ready to go. We got to develop the next offensive lineman. That's the key. That's the whole key to this thing. Because you don't want to throw a bunch of stupid money at a quarterback and then not have the line to block him. You don't want to do that. And I don't think that Brad Holmes is stupid. Aaron's next up here, 97 The Ticket. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I think there's something interesting that I haven't heard anyone talk about yet, which is Goff undervaluing himself a little bit so that he can keep that O-line together, so that he can keep his core guys there and paid. Because, this is a guy who went through leaving a franchise that didn't want him anymore. They kicked him out of L.A., and he knows that he's got, not only does he have a great thing going here, but I don't know if you can necessarily compare this situation to the 49ers because Goff is he's a play caller as much as he is a playmaker. I don't see that in Brock Purdy. Call me dumb, whatever. I just don't see the same talent right now. Give Brock Purdy 5 more years in the league.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
We can talk about that. But for right now, I think he wants to win a Super Bowl. And if it doesn't happen this year, I think he could value himself at $25 million, $30 million on the lower end so that he keeps that cap space alive and he keeps, those guys around him happy. There's just nothing about all of his interviews, anything I've seen him, put on tape that screams that he's looking for a huge payday.
No, he's a very even-keeled guy. He's very professional when he speaks in public. And we talk to him every week, and he's always very measured with what he has to say, and I can appreciate that. I wouldn't take that to mean that he's going to lowball himself when it comes to the market. And talk about, maybe he'll take $25 or $30 million a year instead of taking twice that, which is his market value. I don't think that's going to be the case. We've only had one of those players. It's Tom Brady was the only one to do that. And I think once Brady got that taste of winning, he loved it so much, he was after it, right? And he knew he could do certain things to guarantee that they can go out and get players and build around him to keep that thing going. And they did. Now, it also helped that his wife at the time was making more money than he was. It also helped with endorsement deals. He was making a ton of money outside of his salary with the Patriots. But I did point out, Goff has already made $160 million plus in his career when all is going to be said and done with his contract. His next contract, if you were to take a 5-year, $200 million contract, if you offered that, would he take it? I don't know if he'd take that. But that's only $40 million a year on average. And you're talking about $200 million more dollars for you to play this game with this team while this window of opportunity is still there with this offensive line to stay together. It's a very appetizing situation that the Lions have, which is crazy that we're talking about this. That this is how attractive this job is and this team is. Because they did the right thing by hiring the right coach and the right general manager. And it's even crazier to think that they hired the coach before the general manager. That the GM didn't get to make his hire. They brought him in together, but a couple days apart, and it was the coach first. Crazy. And it's worked out to this point, knocking on wood. But ultimately, it doesn't work out unless you're holding up some hardware. And so far, the hardware is the NFC North Championship, but you haven't won a playoff game yet. That's got to happen. Bare minimum, that's got to happen.